What is going on, Only Playbook fans? We are back for another episode. Wide receiver rankings today. We did quarterbacks, we did running backs. Now we do my favorite position, the wide receiver position. I'm Sweetheart. I got Shishot and Shovit with me. How excited are we to debate about these wide receivers? Because I've seen some of the lists. Shovit, you mentioned you've changed your lists, but I feel like there's always a strong debate when it comes to the wide receiver position, at least for the three of us. So, Shishot, I want to start with you. What are your thoughts initially going in before we dive into these rankings? Are you going to be surprised, disappointed, much of the same?
I think I'm going to be the one surprising, to be honest with you, as per usual. I just like running backs, dude. Like, I'll take any of them. The NFL is so offense heavy nowadays. It's like all they do is just stack up offensive players, which is great for fantasy football purposes because even the shittier teams will have some wins. You know, like there will be days where the bad teams will overthrow the good teams just because of this.
We'll dive into the rankings now. Without further ado, I feel like I always kick us off. So since now Shishot's already hyped up his list being so different, I feel like you should kick us off with your top 12 rankings, Shishot.
All right, cool. So I am going to go with, you want me to start from the back or the front?
The back.
All
We
right.
like it from the back.
All right. So I made it number 13 just because DeAndre Hopkins deserves it and he doesn't have a team. Otherwise, he would have taken a lot of these people's spots. So I put Hopkins at 13. TBD. 12 is Jalen Waddle. Chris Olave is 11. Calvin Ridley is 10. Garrett Wilson is 9. AJ Brown is 8. CeeDee Lamb is 7. Devonta Adams is 6. Jamar Chase is 5. Tyreek Hill is 4. Stephon Diggs is 3. Cooper Kupp is 2. And Justin Jefferson is 1. Bite me.
Wow.
Same
Wow.
Yeah. Some players are left out. That's just the way it goes.
There's
no Jalen Waddle. No Waddle on my list.
Wait, I thought you had Waddle 11.
Sorry, not Waddle. No Amon-Ra, St.Brown on my list.
Wow.
No St.Brown on your list. Yeah. There's a couple of differences, and we'll dive into those after our list. But Shovit, give me your 12.
All right. Okay. Number 12, I've got Skinny Batman, Devontae Smith. Number 11, I've got Waddle everywhere, Jalen Waddle. Number 10, I've got Amon-Ra St. Brown. Number 9, I've got Garrett Wilson. Number 8, CeeDee Lamb. Number 7, Devontae Adams. Number 6, Jamar Chase. Number 5, Cooper Kupp. Number 4, Stephon Diggs. Number 3, AJ Brown. Number 2, the Cheetah, Tyreek Hill. And number 1, JJ, Justin Jefferson.
Wow, AJ Brown in the top 3. Did I hear that correctly?
Yes, top 3.
Wow. Okay, we need it. We're trying to make this episode shorter, and I can already tell there's going to be way too many debates going on. All right, let me give you guys my top 12 real quick, and then we go into debate land. Number 12, DK Metcalf. Number 11, Jalen Waddle. Number 10, AJ Brown. Number 9, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Number 8, Garrett Wilson. Number 7, Devontae Adams. CeeDee Lamb comes in at number 6. Diggs at 5. Tyreek Hill at number 4. Top 3, Cooper Kupp at 3 spot. Jamar Chase at 2 spot, and number 1, JJ. So
I don't even know where to start.
Gosh, okay. So let's talk about AJ Brown. AJ Brown has a major variance in our list. I have him 10. Shishot, did you have him in there? 8. And Shovit, you have him 3. So Shovit, kick me off. And here's the thing: you have AJ Brown 3, and you have Devontae Smith 12, right? So
Yes.
You have 2 Eagles receivers in the top 12. We have Jalen Hurts. You had him number 2, maybe.
Yep.
And Eagles don't have a running back that's go-to. So I mean, just based on these rankings, you are bullish as hell on the Philadelphia Eagles offense. So talk to me about why AJ Brown would fall into the top 3 in fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, so first of all, Devontae Smith, let me start with him. Devontae Smith is number 12 for me because he's just not as consistent as some of the other receivers are. He's going to be a guy that like wins you weeks, and then he's not going to be there. He's not going to show up like 2 points, maybe 5, maybe 7. It's just there's a lot of variance with Devontae Smith. AJ Brown is the number 1 receiver in the Philadelphia Eagles, and like we've seen what Jalen Hurts has been able to do with AJ Brown on the team. I mean, great route runner, commands the ball on that team. Just by looking at that game against Pittsburgh, I've got PTSD from seeing what AJ Brown can do, and he's a stud. Like I feel like top 5 easily, and top 3 just because the Eagles' offense and Jalen Hurts is that good.
Shishot, you have him outside the top 3. You have him outside the top 5. You do have him inside your top 10, number 8.
Yeah.
Why is he there?
Dude, Eagles are not going to throw the ball as much as Chauvet's thinking right now. Like, this is the best offense in probably the league, to be honest with you. Most likely team to make it to the Super Bowl. They're not going to throw the ball that much. Like, the same reason Jalen Hurts is not number one on my list, which I made clear last time. And it was strictly because they're going to be ahead so much of the time that you're playing with 3 quarters here, especially in the passing game. Rushing game, yeah, you could stash a Penny or you could stash a Swift and they get extra time and later in the fourth quarter. That makes sense. But to me, AJ Brown in the top 3, Shova, you tripping, dog. Only like teams that good, it just doesn't make any sense.
So I'll give you a chance to rebut, but I think for me, the reason why it's not talent, it's not that he could not put up historic numbers, but I align more with Shishot in that their offense is not that heavily involved in not just passing, but heavily involved in only passing to one guy, right? You have Devontae Smith in the top 12. Dallas Goedert's probably a top 5 tight end. And on top of that, they're a team that relies heavily on the run game. So you just have to factor in that they're not Joe Burrow. It's not Joe Burrow and the Bengals that are, shotgun 5 wide receiver set. It's not Patrick Mahomes where it's like, hey, go out there and make a play and win. That gives the wide receiver a chance. Jalen Hurts and the Eagles is truly, like you said, they're such a complete football team that they could win with the defense one week where the offense doesn't have to do anything. They could win with, like you said, skinny Batman putting up 200 yards and 2 touchdowns one week. They can win with Hurts rushing for 3 touchdowns one week. Like you said, Shobit, the same reasons you were saying the variance is high for Devontae Smith. I agree that Jalen Brown is their number one receiver, or AJ Brown is their number one receiver, but I still think that same variance that knocks Devontae Smith also knocks AJ Brown just with the nature of that offense and how complete that football team is.
Okay, yeah. So I think that as far as opportunities wise, AJ Brown and the Eagles are going to have a lot of opportunities. I understand there's a lot of players on that team: Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert. You've got Swift now as well. But the transition that the Eagles made that really worked out for them was kind of going away from that running scheme and passing the ball. Because the question was, well, can Jalen Hurts really be a good passing quarterback? And he's proven and he's gotten paid. And I think that like they are not going to go away from that. And they are going to use their best player that's on the team outside of Jalen Hurts, which is AJ Brown. So I get the narrative that they're going to run the ball, but with the running backs that they have, I just don't see that being as effective as they would if they were to utilize their weapons in the receiving corps.
Yeah, I mean, again, valid point in the sense that you would love to see throwing teams that are successful with stud receivers and stud quarterbacks throw the ball more. It's just, again, I'll be interested to see if they do shift a little bit more with Penny and Swift, who are both injury-prone running backs, right? So maybe because of that reason, maybe they shift a little bit more. But you still have Gainwell, I believe. So again, time will tell. But that's why I guess the variance in AJ Brown. We all had the same number 1. We all had JJ1. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. I know top 3 for the most part maybe was the same. Chase Cup, unless Shishot had Diggs in his top 3 and you had AJ Brown, right?
Chase is out of my top 3.
Chase is out of your top 3. You had
I had JJ, Hill, and Brown.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the top 5 because it looks like AJ Brown, where we have Cooper Kupp and Chase, Hill, and Diggs is a little bit slightly different. You had number 2. You had Cooper Kupp number 2, Shishot?
Yeah.
Okay. Talk to me about your stance on why he's going to finish top 2.
I mean, it's just one injury that derailed this whole thing. If it wasn't for the injury, Justin Jefferson would have finished second, probably. You know what I mean? Like Cooper Kupp has a resume. He's proven he's unguardable, and he still has the same quarterback. And the quarterback there's information out now that he looks really good. Sean McVay just came out maybe 5-6 days ago saying Matthew Stafford's arm looks great. And that's all I really need to hear. That connection was, it won a Super Bowl. So I can't see how that is going to change anytime soon. I'm sure that team's going to suck, they're going to have to throw the ball. Same reason I don't have AJ Brown in my top 3. I have Cooper Kupp in my top 2. I've seen what he can do. I've seen how he finishes. I've seen that they don't like to go to anybody else, and they have nothing else to lose. They're going to be in situations where they're going to be behind. They're going to be playing till the end almost every game. Their defense sucks. They have a quarterback that can deliver. All signs point to things happening again.
Chubby, where'd you have Kupp?
Cooper Kupp is number 5, and yeah, all the reports on training camp is saying that I think he had an ACL injury, and it all looks good, and so he's definitely top 5, but I'm just hesitant to put him above guys like Hill, Brown, Diggs. It's just the uncertainty there. I mean, he could very well finish top 2, but because of the injury, the Rams being what they are with Matthew Stafford, I just don't have as much confidence as I do with the other guys.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is recency bias. A lot of it is the
Yeah.
injury because again, pre-injury, I agree with both of you guys. Like Cooper Kupp was top one. Like he was as guaranteed a receiver from point standpoint as CMC was as a running back standpoint, right? It was that automatic the minute he had that historic season because, like you said, they knew the ball was going to Kupp. Every play was going to Kupp. Yet he still caught all the balls. He did everything. Like he was unguardable. The stats are just there. It's automatic for him. So if there is no injury, I agree. He's probably going to finish top 3. That's why I have him at 3. I have him outside of or inside the top 3 with Chase at 2, and I have Hill and Diggs rounding out the top 5. I think again the variance in the total points when we look at the end of the season between the top 5 guys, I don't think is going to be astronomical. I think it's going to be very, very minute. So I don't really want to spend a ton of time talking about that. But one guy that we all have now propelled into our top, and I think we all know why, is Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson, I have number 8. Shishot, you have Garrett Wilson number
9.
9.
9.
Shovit, you have him 9. So yeah, 8, 9, 9. Something that we're
Yeah.
pretty aligned on. And to me, it's Aaron Rodgers. And let's give credit where it's due. It's not only Aaron Rodgers. Garrett Wilson is an absolute stud. He just reminds me of Devontae Adams. I mean, for lack of a better person to compare it to, his skill set is so Devontae Adams like. He's very good at the catch point. He's very good at being deceptive for when the football is coming. He uses his hands very, very late so the defender doesn't know. I just think the skill set he possesses is exactly what Rodgers looks for in a receiver, and they're just going to absolutely flourish. So he could finish top 5. Honestly, like he could put up exactly Devontae Adams type numbers and finish inside the top 5. It's just going to depend on what we see from Rodgers, what level of play we see, how good that defense is to maybe take some of the pressure off of that offense. But do you guys see anything different? Any other reason? Anything maybe that I'm missing when it comes to Garrett Wilson, or are we all kind of aligned that he's going to be really fucking good?
Yeah, I think he's gonna be really fucking good. I mean, he had 1,100 receiving yards with quarterbacks like that. Probably won't even get to see a starting position in the NFL. So now that you have Aaron Rodgers in the mix, I mean, the sky is the limit for this guy.
Yeah, there's really nothing that needs to be said. It's a great team. They're going to do great. They play against really good teams, which means they're going to be throwing a lot. And it's just going to be a shootout in the AFC, like pretty much every game with all those stacked teams. So points galore.
Shishot, the one difference we have in our list, I think me and Shelby both have Amon-Ra in our top 12. You do not. Talk to me.
I mean, we'll get to it later with the tight end situation, but the Lions are stacked. The Lions have a seriously good offense, and Amon-Ra is good, but I have faith in all these other guys, and now Amon-Ra's always been like a smaller guy, kind of came out of nowhere. Nobody really saw like things happening, and he just had this really good year, and then the second year got injured. It was great. It's a PPR monster. I appreciate all of that, but every name I've said so far, I have full confidence I'm going to get points from. I just don't have that confidence from Amon-Ra. And it's not to take Amon-Ra out, not to like bash him in any way, but it's because of my first reason, what we even talked about when we started this podcast right now today. And it's that there's just too many good receivers. The NFL is wide receiver friendly now with all these rules and all these, it's just too easy. There's too many good receivers. And what am I supposed to do? Take Jalen Waddle out of the top 10, if there was no Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle would probably be in my top 5. So it's like, and Chris Olave, the new up-and-coming, like star in the NFL. Look what Devontae Adams did with freaking Derek Carr. Derek Carr has, who's going to throw to? Michael Thomas, who's not going to play. Taysom Hill, who doesn't even play that position. It's going to be Olave fest. So, looking at the situation, and then Ridley, like people just forget about Ridley. It's like he just like disappeared from people's minds. He was number 1 in fantasy for like 7 weeks before he left the season, right? So it's like, you got to remember who we're dealing with here. And I just can't put Amon-Ra up in that echelon because he's not as big. He can't get up and grab balls like some of these guys. He's good at slot play and he's good at ins and out, quick PPR points. But some of these guys that I've mentioned are game changers and game breakers. So Amon-Ra's close. He would have been probably 13, 14, 15 right there. But, just these other guys have that extra that you can get an 80-yard touchdown that I don't see happening very often from Amon-Ra.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head of what Amon-Ra St. Brown is. Like the slot guy averages like 6.7 yards downfield. Not a guy that's going to go deep and he's used in the middle of the field, in and out routes and things like that. But I think that the thing that you like about him is the consistency. Like you're going to get a solid a floor for Amon-Ra St. Brown. And then also like, the Jameson Williams getting injured or not injured, sorry, suspended for 6 weeks. I think that also bodes well for them. Yes, they got Sam Laporta, they've got Gibbs, but I think that he doesn't have a lot of threat outside of Jameson Williams from a receiving standpoint. So I think that in terms of PPR, you're gonna get, like I said, a solid floor. You're probably not gonna get points like guys like with Jamar Chase, Cooper Kupp, what they will give you, but you know what you can get from Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's a good wide receiver 2 to have. He's 10 on my list. So if you're a 10 man league, like 11, that's a second receiver that you would have on your team.
Yeah, I'm with you guys on both very valid points. I'm iffy about him too. I was iffy about him last year. He proved me wrong. Show, but you got a really nice value draft on him because he kept falling. Similar situation this year. That's the thing with me. He's in an offense that, for whatever reason, it just doesn't appeal to me, regardless of how good they were, regardless of their advanced stats actually being really good offensively last year. It's still, to me, Jared Goff. It's still, to me, like a Lions offense that it's just not quite exciting enough to me to where I'm like you said, Shishot, I have no hesitations with drafting him top 10, right? So there are hesitations. That's why I have him 9. I think the thing, like you said, Shovit, that I love about him is he does have a floor because he's going to get open from the target or from the slot all the time, right? So he's a safety blanket. That does limit the ability for him to, change the game, 70-yard touchdown, like you said. But you could probably look at your box score after every game he plays, and he's going to get you a consistent amount of points. So it's the battle you fight. Are you looking for a consistent force, or where you're drafting in that particular situation, are you looking to hit a home run with a guy that has much more upside? So tricky spot for him. Jameson Williams being out 6 weeks, I think definitely helps him, at least from where he gets drafted because of the early season situation. And then finally, I mean, you hit on a couple of them. Shisho, you had Calvin Ridley in there. I don't think either of us did. Obviously, let's not forget who he is. I think similar situation. We're already all waiting for the Jags to take the next leap. We're waiting for Lawrence to take the next leap. We've already surrounded Lawrence with a lot of like B grade receivers. Ridley to me is an A-, so he is definitely a step up from all the other guys. But I do also think that Lawrence has built some really, really good chemistry with Kirk. He's built some really good chemistry with Ingram. And so do I think Ridley comes in there and automatically becomes wide receiver 1 definitively? No. But do I think by the end of the season, he probably could put up the most yards and touchdowns on that team? Probably. So there is hesitation there. You're a year removed. Who knows what mindset mentally you're in. But the other difference, I had DK number 12. Did either of you guys have DK in your top 12?
No, I didn't.
It took me so long to decide that offense, and I don't even think DK is going to be the best receiver on that team at the end of the season. That's the problem here. There's too many weapons, and Geno's no joke. We've seen what he can do. And dude, it's going to be crazy. I think the rookie's going to take over that team by the end of the season. I really do, because he can run all the routes. DK cannot. And at the end of the day, you have your deep threat, and it works with Russell Wilson. Geno is just not that guy that can make those throws that Russell Wilson could at that point. So we saw that lacking with DK. But, he's had a whole offseason to prepare. He knows he's going to lose his job if, like, this rookie comes in and just does damage immediately. And, we know he's going to. We know that this job is on the line. He knows it. We know it. Everybody knows it. So he may outperform his last year's play, but at the end of the day, he's going to have to be quicker. He's going to have to get, we know he's fast with lateral speed, but he can't separate himself from the cornerbacks in close coverage and slant routes and drag routes. So, that's a knock on him. There's just too many good receivers on that team now. And we saw what happens last year. And now there's somebody that can come in and run every single route ever created. So that kind of makes me a little bit worried.
Yeah. So, I mean, valid, very valid. Show me, you have anything to add on leaving DK outside your top 12?
Yeah, so I mean, it's just the fact that JSN's out there and Tyler Lockett's there, DK Metcalf is there, and I just don't know what that offense is going to be like next year. I mean, Kenneth Walker, that running game could be a big part of that team as well. DK Metcalf like shows up and then doesn't show up at times as well, so he's like a little bit risky. And so it's just I'm not really convinced that he will finish top 12 this year.
Yeah, so definitely, again, valid points. My argument for DK is exactly what I felt like he lacked I actually saw a little bit more from him last year. Last year was the year that he had the most amount of receptions he's ever had in his career, 90. So he's getting close to that 100 receptions mark, which is, again, something you only typically hear from like guys who are PPR monsters, right? So 90 receptions from DK to me actually kind of stood out. Now, granted, he only had 1,048 yards, so his yards per catch actually went down from when he had 1,300 and only 80 catches in 2 years ago. So what that tells me is, yes, Russell Wilson's gone, which means they actually threw him the ball in more shorter intermediate spots because he had more catches for less yards per catch, right? So I agree with JSN. It opens up this offense to a whole nother level. But personally, I still think JSN is going to be more of a what Lockett is, but when Lockett's gone, he's going to truly fit that role. I think right now, because Lockett's still there, they probably prefer Lockett in the slot, or he's going to run go routes from the outside. So him and JSN are kind of going to be like, you're doing what I'm not doing this route, and I'm doing what you're not doing this route. DK always has the same definitive role, right? So I think I'm going based off of a little bit more of some of that slant stuff, some of that stuff that I did feel like I saw more of. And I think having another receiver only actually helps them. But I definitely see the other side of that where more receiver, more opportunity for other people. So it's a give or take. And Shobit, here's my thing. You're not wrong that he arrives for some games and he kind of disappears. But when I look at this, the thing that always impresses me is I barely ever draft DK Metcalf because of those same reservations. And then every year at the end of the season, you look at where DK Metcalf finished in the top 12, 15, and he's always right there. But it's not like he's consistently giving you winning weeks every week. He's a boomer bust type of player. But again, this is top 12 rankings. And I just think for a full season, he always seems to come really, really close into those rankings. And I think there's a good chance because of what we saw from Geno last week, another whole offseason with Geno and not Russell, advancing your game a little bit, more catches, less yards per catch. He's got a little bit nicer and higher trajectory than I think what I expect from DK Metcalf as well.
Man, I'm having remorse. Like just thinking about it now. Like I'm like, okay, if DK Metcalf's on the field and Tyler Lockett and JSN, like that means less defenders to double team DK Metcalf. So I mean, if all of those, things that were causing him not to produce, if it's just one-on-one, man, DK Metcalf, he's a freak of nature. Like as far as an athletic guy, he can definitely, they can definitely utilize him more with more weapons around him, I think.
Yeah. It's the other side of the coin from the Amon-Ra argument, right? It's like DK Metcalf is the home run guy, but he's not the guy that's going to get open every single play from the slot. So like he's not going to be the first guy that you look to. We watch plays and we're like, why are they not looking at DK? Because they don't expect DK to get open within 2 seconds off the line like they expect other players to. So again, we'll see what happens. I've been bearish on DK for like his entire career, and he always seems to pleasantly surprise me. So I'm actually finally buying some DK stock. Let's see where it takes me. That is honestly it for me. Any other receivers you guys want to talk about?
Where'd you guys put Olave?
I don't have him in my top 12.
Yeah, not on my list.
Probably be in the top 15, maybe.
Okay.
New offense, new team for Derek Carr. Again, the uncertainty is Olave is really good, but Derek Carr is coming into a completely new situation. I just don't know what to expect.
And Derek Carr does like to throw it deep, and he had like one of the most air yards Olave did last year. So,
dude, I think it's going to be a home run. I'm thinking probably 7th, 8th at the end of the season. There's just too many receivers, man. There's too many receivers. Anything can happen. In the top 15, top 15 is now what top 8 used to be like 2 years ago. So it's just a lot of mouths to feed. The running teams, there's like 2 running teams left. That's like,
I know.
You know what I mean? Like there's mouths to feed everywhere now.
One thing I want
piggybacking on the sorry, go ahead.
Okay. One thing I want to add is like I've got AJ Brown really high on my list, right? So if you guys don't, so his ADP is probably a little bit lower, right, on average. So if you really believe AJ Brown could be something, he can be top 3, then you can grab him later. Then you grab like Cooper Kupp, and you'll be happy with that pick. Same thing with like Calvin Ridley. Like Calvin Ridley's probably going to go in the 4th and 5th round, and not a lot of people are going to pick him up in the 2nd, 3rd. So if you really believe in that, that could be a strategy where you go out and you say, okay, I don't really care about these other guys. I don't care. I'm going to pass on Amon-Ra St. Brown because I can get Calvin Ridley later on.
I mean, like, look at the situation. You can get Justin Jefferson, you can get Garrett Wilson, and then you can get Chris Olave. Those names don't sound sexy, right? At the end of it, you're like, because we're used to seeing teams with Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, and Justin Jefferson being like an elite team. But that's happened before. But now, like, it's a new NFL with young players that have proven themselves last year, and a team with Justin Jefferson, Garrett Wilson, and Chris Olave could give you like 60 points.
No,
like
I'm salivating over that. That's a great roster. If you
That
can
would
get
be an
like
insane
that.
receiving core.
Flex
Yeah.
Chris Olave as your flex and Garrett Wilson 2 and JJ 1.
Yeah, and there's running backs galore. There's like 5 million running backs now. So it's like there's going to be so many stacked teams this year.
Yeah, it's exciting to see the depth of the NFL. It makes fantasy football that much more exciting because you have better teams across the board and more points to be had. So, no, I think that's great. I like the unison in having JJ number one, go Vikes. But again, I do see a Cooper Cup resurgence. I think nothing can stopping Cooper Cup from being wide receiver one except for that injury. It's literally that. So again, wherever he's valued in drafts, you're drafting a guy. If his ADP or his ranking is behind JJ Chase, Hill, Diggs, even let's say he's fifth, you're drafting a guy that's potentially going to be the best fantasy football player of the whole season at wide receiver 5. So there is going to be value to be had. It's just about who stays healthy, who you draft that ends up doing well, and who becomes a bust.
Yeah. So what do you guys think about Devontae Adams? Where do you guys have him on your list?
I have him 7.
6.
7.
Yeah,
it's middle of the pack.
It's not Adams. It's just who the hell's the quarterback. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Cool.
it, guys. That's the wide receivers. Debate with us. If you guys agree, disagree, think we're stupid, let us know. We want to hear all of the banter. We will be back next week to do tight ends, another sexy position. I'm Sweetcar. That's Shovit. That is Shishot. We're the only playbook. Have a great week, guys. See ya.